The playwright Sophocles, together with Aeschylus and Euripides, constitutes the tradition of Greek tragedy, which arose from festivals to the god Dionysus. In classical Greece, regular dramatic competitions were held where the works of leading playwrights would be performed. These were not just regarded as entertainment, but were also an important element in the religious life of the Greeks. Sophocles is said to have written around 120 plays, of which only 7 have survived. He is best known for the cycle known as the Theban plays, which consists of Oedipus the king, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. These works draw on the myth of Oedipus and present the story of his life and that of his children. Although these works can be fruitfully read one after another, they were not written at the same time or in the proper chronological order. Thus, they do not constitute an organic trilogy, and inconsistencies in them have been noted. The myth of Oedipus had a long history and would have been well known to Sophocles' audience before they saw his dramatic version of it. The interest of the audience lay in seeing how Sophocles would interpret the individual events of the story in his own way, even though the outcome was anticipated. The audience's familiarity with the legend makes it possible for Sophocles to use dramatic irony extensively. Sometimes this irony foreshadows the outcome of the story, and sometimes the dialogue contains a double entendre. The details of Sophocles' life are sketchy, and much of the information that has come down to us is anecdotal and probably unreliable. For example, there are a number of competing versions of his death. He was presumably born around 497 BC in Hippios Colonus near Athens. This was the town where Oedipus was said to have been buried, and so Sophocles must have been familiar with the legend surrounding him from a very early age. Throughout his life, Sophocles participated in theater competitions and won a large number of them. He also had several positions in politics during the period of Pericles, serving as a treasurer and a general. He lived to be more than 90 and was productive even as an old man. Performed for the first time in Athens, presumably between 429 and 425 BC, Oedipus the King is an iconic work that has been the object of much discussion ever since. Aristotle makes it the blueprint for his analysis of tragedy in his work, The Poetics. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca used the work as a model for his own dramatic version of the legend. The work also played a role in the Renaissance, and the first modern rendition is said to be the famous performance in Vicenza in 1585, which inaugurated the Olympic Theater. It has also inspired modern versions by Pierre Corneille in 1659, John Dryden and Nathaniel Lee in 1679, Voltaire in 1718, Hugo von Hofmannsthal in 1906, Max Reinhardt in 1910, and Jean Cocteau in 1934. It was important for Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung in the development of psychoanalytic theory. Musical interpretations have also been attempted. For example, Igor Stravinsky's opera, Oedipus Rex from 1927. The story of Oedipus is a complex one. He's born to King Laius and Queen Jocasta of Thebes. It's prophesied that the child will kill his father, and so, with the goal of preventing this, it's decided that the child should be exposed on a mountain, a common practice among the Greeks and other ancient cultures, especially for children born with some kind of physical defect or conceived out of wedlock. And here one might think of famous stories of Moses or Romulus and Remus, who were also subject to exposure and were miraculously saved. King Laius pierces the feet of the child and gives him to a trusted servant with the order of leaving him on Mount Kithaeron. Oedipus's name means swollen foot in reference to the swelling caused by the piercing of his tendons. The servant, however, pitying the infant, gives it to a shepherd who brings it to King Polybus and Queen Merope of Corinth. Having no children of their own, they raise it as their own child. When Oedipus, as a young man, hears rumors that he is not a legitimate child, he asks his parents about this, and although they try to reassure him, he remains troubled by the accusation. He then goes to the oracle at Delphi to ask about his parentage. He's told that he will end up killing his father and marrying his mother. Horrified by this, he decides never to return to his home in Corinth in order to avoid harming his parents. So he sets out instead for Thebes. On the road there, he meets King Elias, who, unbeknownst to him, is his real father. An altercation breaks out, and Oedipus kills the king and all of his servants except one, thus fulfilling the first part of the prophecy. He continues on to Thebes, which is suffering from the oppression of the Sphinx, which stands at the gate and allows no one to pass unless they can solve its riddle. Many have tried and failed and been killed by the monster. Oedipus, however, succeeds and gives the correct answer, thus defeating the Sphinx and liberating Thebes. Hailed as a hero, he's made the king of Thebes and marries the now widowed Queen Jocasta, thus fulfilling the second part of the prophecy. Later, a plague breaks out in Thebes, and it's said to be caused by a pollution in the city. This is the moment where Sophocles chooses to begin the dramatic action of the play. According to the oracle, the pollution is caused by the murder of King Elias, and so, anxious to help his people, King Oedipus launches an investigation into the matter. In an ironic passage, Oedipus issues a curse on the murderer, unknowingly condemning himself. Bit by bit, the facts of the story are uncovered, and he realizes that he's the person causing the pollution and that the terrible prophecies about him have come true. When Queen Jocasta realizes what's happened, she hangs herself. When Oedipus sees this and realizes the full truth, he puts out his eyes. In the end, the queen's brother Creon is left to take over the throne, and Oedipus begs to be sent away in exile. The dramatic action of the story that Sophocles portrays takes place on a single day, the last day of Oedipus's reign.